The Mech touch. Am I hearing this right? Lucky batted his paw at him for disturbing his nap time. The lazy cat hadn't bothered to give his opinion. As long as the minerals kept coming, the animal was content. His bank sent him notification a few minutes later. Vez truly had to admit, his broker kept promises. His first production, Mech, auctioned for an incredible sum of 42 million credits. This amounted to gross profits of 15.6 million credits. Such a profit from a single sale was truly perverse. He quickly received confirmation from the system as well by depositing 42 DP into his stagnant pool. It was a drop in the ocean compared to the earnings of his latest virtual Mech, but every little bit helped. What amazed Vez even more was that Marcella managed to draw out 8 subsequent orders at the same event. Due to a lack of capital, he demanded his clients to pay a deposit up front in order to afford the resources required to fabricate the mechs. With such an onerous requirement, Marcella still managed to open the wallets of 8 different people. Vez glanced at the list of customers. 6 of them were registered as mercenaries, while only 2 appeared to be collectors. This meant that his mechs would certainly be employed in battle. A solid track record helped much to enhance the value of his Mark II. After he finally came down from his excitement, Vez prepared his largest set of orders to date. First, he had to procure around 144 million credits worth of raw materials. If anything happened to this huge batch of resources, he might as well declare bankruptcy. I'll have to start looking for insurance, he quickly decided. A quick search revealed that Saniel Ablin happened to be one of the major insurance vendors on the planet. They not only insured bulk transport shipments, they also offered an armed convoy service for especially valuable shipments. Anyone who contracted the convoy service naturally received a generous insurance quote. Since he already contracted SAS to secure his workshop, he might as well inquire about their insurance policies. Vez called Robin's comm. She picked up after 2 minutes of waiting. Sorry about that, Mr. Larkinson. I had to finalize a business deal. How may I help you? I'm about to receive a huge shipment of materials. He started, then explained his upcoming schedule. Miss Robin quickly got the picture. I see. You have come to the right place to secure your shipments. Let me explain our products. SAS offered various insurance policies. The cheapest policy only insured a fixed number of shipments, which was great for short-term business ventures. It also added up to a significant amount of money if renewed. Those who wanted to insure their interstellar shipments for the long haul contracted their annual policies. Vez favored this kind of service because Vez only had to pay a fixed amount per year for a certain amount of shipments. If the amount or value of his shipment exceeded a certain threshold, the insurance policy automatically adjusted its annual rate. It made for a convenient and predictable expense. We highly recommend you combine our annual insurance with our convoy service, the woman added. Shipments throughout the Republic has suffered from a marked increase in pirate attacks. Major mech shipments have become their prime targets. He furrowed his brows. That sounded really bad news to Vez, especially since he frequently shipped his goods back and forth. How does it look like, and what will it cost? Our security company runs a network of armed convoys throughout the entire Republic. Combined with an annual insurance policy, your business will be able to benefit from our convoy service at a preferential rate of 10 million credits a year. This rate will only apply as long as the total market value of your shipments is lower than 1 billion credits a year. Vez did a quick search on the galactic net. Prices for convoy services diverged quite a bit, but SAS enjoyed a good reputation. They charged twice as much, and the costs ramped up faster if the trade volume increased, but their impeccable safety record was a testament on how they took their shipments seriously. Our regular convoy service from Cloudy Curtain to Bentime and back runs a fixed schedule of 8 days per circuit. Among our customers are the famous Raleigh and Luvon consortiums. They entrust their valuable shipments of cloud rice and other luxury crops to our secure convoys. We have never let any of their shipments go astray. My shipments will join their convoy if I sign up. That will likely be the case. Robin nodded. Considering the nature of your business, it will be sufficient to tack on an extra transport to the existing convoy whenever you send or receive a large number of goods. Smaller shipments, such as a single mech, can be squeezed in the cargo hold of a regular grain transport. After a round of discussion, Vez decided to sign up for their combined insurance and convoy service package. He had to cough up another 10 million credits in exchange for some peace of mind. Robin actually complimented him for signing on before the company raised its prices due to the increasing frequency of pirate attacks. To be honest, Vez did not fear any pirate attacks. Cloudy Curtain was just a small hop away from Bentime, and thus somewhat fell under the port system's sphere of influence. Any pirate captain that decided to hijack a transport in this area might as well commit suicide. Instead, he wanted to guard against sabotage. The recent troubles with the local politicians, as well as the Gage dynasty, warned him that it was best to take precautions. Even though the convoy service deducted twice as much as his annual interest payment, Vess deemed it worth the cost if he could push all responsibility onto Samuel Ablin. A ruined shipment won't hurt me very much. SAS will reimburse me for any losses their convoy incurs. His overhead costs had increased again, but Vess considered all of them a necessary price for doing business in this day and age. Once he signed the contract and supplied the necessary paperwork, SAS granted him access to a virtual site that allowed him to register his shipments. Vess immediately made use of the service by ordering 144 million credits worth of raw materials and routed it all through Sanyal minus Ablin's fixed convoy schedule. The next wave of convoys departed about 2 days later, giving Vess about 5 days of preparation. Carlos, he called after finishing his arrangements. Yes, boss. What's your current success rate for the Mark II? I'm still getting stuck on a couple of tight spots. I've been making strides, but I won't be able to master the fabrication process until the end of the month. As the designer of the Mark II, Vess knew where Carlos struggled with the process. His employee had tentatively mastered the printing process, which impressed him quite a bit. Vess even considered letting Carlos take charge of the 3D printer, but quickly pushed the notion aside. A gold label, Mech deserved his full attention in order to strengthen its X factor as much as possible. Tell you what, I received a substantial amount of orders for the Mark II. 5 days later, I'll start fabricating 8 of them in sequence. You can accompany me when I start to work, but you can only watch and ask questions. Is that all right with you? The chance to see Vess in action should be a golden opportunity for Carlos. His employee eagerly nodded. Thank you. That's just what I need. I'll be sure not to bother you. In the meantime, Vess prepared his workshop for the upcoming fabrication run. He pre-configured his assembly machines with optimizations that sped up their processes and reduced the risk factors. He also corresponded with Kelsey about the tax reform bill and any other possible threats. According to the student, the Greens retracted their support for its immediate passage. The White Doves were forced to follow suit. For now, the Planetary Assembly bounced the bill back to a committee that intended to submit a modified version of the bill at the start of the next standard year. Looks like the abrupt departure of the Gage dynasty has thrown the ruling coalition into disarray. Vess noted with glee. He turned back to Kelsey. Have you made any headway in your plan to sink this bill? I'm pursuing a couple of potential prospects. I'm currently in talks with a handful of interested parties. Once I've received their assent, I'll unveil my plan to you. It sounded kind of vague, but Vess gave the woman a chance. All right, you can take your time as long as you have something solid. Once he ended the call, he called up his agenda. If Vess wanted to attend the annual New Year celebration with the Larkinsons, he had to speed up his fabrication run. I can only afford to spend 4 days to complete each mech, he calculated, after running the numbers. I also have to take the travel time into account. He could save a lot of time if he repaired the Barracuda. However, Vess already blew a large portion of his savings. His remaining liquid funds still fell short of covering the cost of repairs. He shrugged, went back to his preparations. 5 days later, the convoy from SAS touched down on Cloudy Curtain spaceport. A swarm of smaller cargo shuttles transferred over 2,000 tons of goods to his workshop. Vess patted himself on his back for expanding the perimeter of his workshop. If not for his foresight, he might have run out of room. Unfortunately, his secure storage room lacked the space to accommodate the entire shipment. Vess only stored the most valuable exotics, while he left the bulk materials in their original containers. Once his hauler bots brought the first set of materials to his 3D printer, Vess summoned Carlos to his side. This is it, Carlos. I'll be demonstrating the fabrication process to you. If you can't figure out the methods to tackle those tight spots you mentioned, then you can go back to Bentime. Don't worry, boss. I'll be paying a lot of attention. Can I record your work? I'd rather not, Vess immediately replied. Though SAS constantly monitored him through their security systems, he wished to minimize the risk of exposing the X factor. Watch with your mind, not with your eyes. Don't try to memorize my routines through rote learning. You're going to have an awful time if you don't understand the underlying thoughts of my actions. Carlos nodded, as he appeared to understand the point. So, I should be asking questions instead. That's right, but don't disturb me while I'm at work. I'd hate to ruin a batch worth millions of credits if you happen to pull me out of my zone. As Vess intended to go back to focusing on 3 different images at once, he quickly came up with an excuse. Whenever I fabricate, I easily get sucked into my work. It's fine as long as you don't bump into me. I'll be taking regular breaks between my hour-long fabrication sessions. Feel free to ask your questions during my pauses. Understood. Before you start, can you tell me if you intend to fabricate the mechs one by one or by batch? Each gold label mech is an individual creation. They deserve to be treated as a single entity instead of an assembly line product. Vess quickly made up in order to cover the fact that he needed to fabricate them one by one in order to maximize their X factor. While it's not as efficient, the method ensures that each mech is a good fit for my customers. Will I be obliged to do the same if I start doing my job? It's not necessary for you to take the same approach. Vess answered after considering the amount of mechs Carlos might fabricate one day. That said, in the long run, I think it will greatly benefit your results if you learn to adopt the same mindset. Once Carlos finished asking his questions, Vess began to focus his mind. He summoned the 3 inspirations and sharpened them into a combined intent. He successfully formed the unique mental imprint that was intrinsic to his Mark II design. Let's begin.